Hey good people, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. How do you play in tune on the fiddle, on the violin? How do you do it? This lesson is part of a series that is designed to help you play in tune. And so the previous lesson I did was on call and response loops, and this lesson is on interval practice. So what are intervals? This sounds like something I didn't do well in high school math. What, do I have to do that over now? I'm supposed to be having fun. So intervals are two notes, and the interval really refers to the distance between them, the harmonic distance. So there's small intervals like on scales, like open to D open to 1. It's known as a whole step. 1 to 2 is a whole step. D2 to 3 is close, so we call that a half step, or a semitone, okay? So these are some small intervals. So before going further with different kinds of intervals and ways to practice it, the whole point of doing them is to get your ear to just recognize how they should sound. And if you have a very strong idea of how they should sound, then you'll be able to know if they're in tune. In fact, your fingers and ears might work together without you even consciously knowing it to play them in tune if you've really practiced lots and lots of intervals. So a scale is a series of intervals, whole steps and half steps. A tune is also a series of intervals, but they are all different kinds. So let's look at the fourth chord of the Arkansas Traveler. First interval, 3, 2, 3. Those are halves. That's a half step. And then if we go from A3 to open, that's a fourth. And then open A to 1 is a whole step. 1 to 3 is a third. So anyhow, a minor third for those of you keeping score at home. So just bring it home again. Practicing intervals. Learn them. Create a mental picture of how that should sound, and doing this is really going to help you play in tune, okay? So we can just do some examples. Open D to 3. And so say you're practicing, you want to practice a particular finger, like third finger on D. You can practice many different intervals to do that. So we could do open to 3, 1 to 3, 2 to 3, or a D3 to open A. And as we practice all of these, we could use play along tracks. So I've created a whole library of call and response loops in which you'll hear a fiddle do, and then you'll play D3 open, and then you'll play it, okay?
1, 2, 3, fun.
And so you can use these loops to really get better at tuning, but you can also do it at your own pace. Use drone tracks. I've talked about this in some of the other tuning lessons, but I'm going to just play a G drone now, and then this will help me to practice D3. So here's a G drone going, and now I can practice different intervals using D3. So like D3 to open D. D3 to D1, D3 to D2, so the half step, So if you've been following the course, then you would have taken the lesson on drone tuning, drooning, otherwise known as, and so you would know that you could do this already. But if you happen to seeing this, if this happens to be your first lesson in this tuning course, you should take the lesson on drone tuning. But the basic idea is that you hear a particular note that you need to work on, like D3, and then you use that drone, which is G, to practice kind of focused on that note. And there's a lot of different exercises you can do. Single note exercises, 2-note, 4-note, and so on. Alright? So, anyhow, so that's roughly the idea of how to practice with intervals. I've created, in addition to the call and response loops, I also have a whole library of interval exercises already created. And I'm not sure those that have like the call and response gap to it, but you can just use those to practice. And then, you know, most of the exercises I give are simple, like 2-bow quarter notes, like open D, D3. But I want to point out a creative thing you can do is to just add a rhythm to it, like hoedown, bowing, like tremolo, or throwaway. Alright, so just to keep you practicing, you know, add variation to keep it interesting for your brain. Your brain figures all this stuff out really quick and it wants to move on to the next thing, right? But your arms and your ears, they need lots and lots of practice over and over again. They need lots of slow practice. So, so intervals happen in tunes. I went over it a little bit for the end of Arkansas Traveler. But I wanted to point out that with a lot of difficult parts of tunes, often it's one interval that's really giving you problems. So if you analyze it and just play each successive interval, you might just hit upon that difficult thing. So I might start by, why is Arkansas Traveler difficult for me? I think it's the 4th quarter. That seems fine. That's not too hard, because all I have to do is lift 3 to go to open A. Next note is open A to 1. That's the next interval. It's okay, that's not too bad. And then, that was kind of hard. A1 to 3. So then you could practice that. And use the various exercises I've created to practice it, or practice it on your own. Use a drone track. You know, you could drone A1. Or you could drone, A1 is B, by the way, or you could drone the note for A3, which is D. I'm just making the drones myself by humming. You could do that too. So we took the same exercise, changed the drone, so you change the focus of what you need to hear. So if you really need to hear A3, you would do the D drone. If you really need to improve your tuning on A1, you could do that. You could do a B drone. I hope that makes sense. And then you would just continue working through that part. Maybe there's other difficult things. It's always hard going open A to D3, you say. So then you would do that with the play-along loops I've created, or you could do it with a drone track, maybe a D3, a track for D3, which would be G. Alright, and by the way, I was singing the drone there, but another great strategy with practicing intervals is to sing them. If you hate singing, try humming them. But say we want to practice open D to 3. so much. Please try to sing everything you play. And which gives me another idea. With all the parts and things I've created, like these loops that I've created, you could practice without even your fiddle around. Get rid of it. Whew. Sorry. All respect to my fiddle. But that would have been fun if I had somebody catch it and just threw it, and you would have been worried that it was going to break, but they would have caught it off stage. Okay, sorry for that. Just, you know, I needed to blow off a little steam from all this tuning lessons I've been giving. So, anyhow, you could practice it. You could practice these things on your own without an instrument. Whew. So want to do that. I keep getting distracted from telling. So you could practice it on your own without a fiddle by using the play along tracks. So you could have like a. I'll just give an example. I don't have an interval set up. I have a 4-note exercise, but this is what you could do on your own at work, lunch break. Do, 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 do. And so you would just do it. You could just do it with a 2-note thing. D3, D1, 1, open, open. And then another thing you can do would be to sing the note names, like E, D. If you're trying to learn note names, which will only help you, help you to read and help you to communicate with others about music, so it's not a bad idea. And in the call and response loops that I've created, about 3 out of the, 14 or so repetitions, you will hear E, F sharp, E, D. So it's a way to train you the note names through spaced repetition. Alright, and so just a few other ideas. In addition to singing and playing these intervals, you can also practice something called audiation, and which is a way to basically audiation is hearing music in your head. Alright, and so you can practice that with intervals. So you could play open D to D3, then see if you can hear that in your head. Alright, and if you can't, then sing it or play it until you can. Okay? And in fact, audiation is the next video lesson I'm going to give, just like a little bit more in depth on how it works. Okay? And so a couple last ideas to give to you would be you can sequence intervals to keep it interesting, but also to get further practice. So say you're practicing, stick with the same example, open D to D3, and you got good at that. Then you could practice the same interval, open A, but on A string, open A to A3. You do it on all 4 strings. Alright? And then if you got comfortable with all of that, you could do a fun exercise in which you sequence all those intervals. If you just do you can also do a smaller range, like just D and A strings. You might accidentally write a tune if you practice this way. Go backwards. That's just sequencing intervals and playing with them. Of course, I have to mention that you can fiddle with it, add a rhythm. Alright, there's a million ways you can practice just open D to 3. Well, maybe a million minus 1. And then you could also sequence in this way. Say you could sequence all the fingers on a string alternating with an open string. I call this pedal note the open string. So you could do D1, open, D low 2, open, D2, open, D3, open, D4, open. Alright, so that's another way, you can practice intervals, but it's best to have to emphasize this with a single interval so you really hear it in your head. Once you getting things more complicated, your ear isn't hearing it quite as well. So make sure you've put in the time on single intervals. Hope that makes sense. The last thing I wanted to say is that, so I've created play-along exercises on FiddleHed to practice intervals, but also you can do it on your own in a few different ways. You can just call up a drone, either one you've made at home using GarageBand or something, or I've got a library of drones called Drone Central. So here's G drone. I can use it to practice D3 to open D. And the beauty of this is I can practice it at my own pace in my own way, so I can do it slower and then faster. Do it really slow, and then maybe I want to play it faster. Rhythms. So it just gives me it kind of frees up your practice a little bit to take away the regular beat, the regular repetition. That said, actually using the play-along tracks is so good because you're also getting a whole other things that you're practicing, like your timing. You know, your timing will improve if you play along with them. What else? Your flow, your sense of musical flow, and your sense of musical awareness. Because if you're practicing with a call and response loop, you're listening, then you're playing. Listening and playing. You're training your ear to always be on, not to just go on autopilot, but to be listening to other things. So, okay, that about does it for interval practice to help your tuning. If I forget anything, I'll probably put it in the notes, which will be on the FiddleHed page. Thank you so much for taking part. I'm having a good time teaching you things, and I'm learning as much from you as you are from me. Maybe I'm even learning more. So thank you for that. And see you at the next tuning lesson, audiation.
Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.